All right, it's now 5 minutes, well, 3 minutes, something past two, so I'll get started. If some participants enter a bit later, then that's fine as well, because I'll record this and I'll post a recording of this webinar on YouTube somewhere tomorrow, and then I'll share the link on Sowieso. So, very warm welcome to the official start of this statistics campus, which is organized by the VU. My name is Bas, and I've been a statistics teacher at the VU for 4 years now, approximately. I've been teaching a lot of SPSS, but besides that, I've also delved deeper into the manual statistics. And I have been asked to do this prep course. I organize it, and I also teach it. So if you have any questions considering statistics, you can always come up to me. Why do we do this prep course? Well, the reason is quite simple, that at the end of this master year, you get to do a master thesis. Or if you're doing a 2-year master, then at the end of the next year. And there are 2 paths for the thesis which you can take. And first of them is qualitative research, and the second one is quantitative research. And if you choose qualitative, it will be mostly doing that you're doing interviews and decoding those. But if you're doing a quantitative master thesis, then you need to use a lot of statistics. And therefore, we offer as the VU this statistics prep course to really refreshen your skills. This is the bachelor statistics summed up really small in a really tight package. So if you didn't have any statistics in your bachelor, or it has faded away a bit, or you feel like it's incomplete, then this is the best way to gain some statistical skills. And we do that in this course, which takes approximately 40 hours. And you can spend that, you can organize that in any way you want. You are not obligated to do 20 hours this week and 20 hours next week. You can do it in whatever way you want. Because it's completely online. You can find everything on Sowieso, which is how you also found the link to join this webinar. And all the theory and the exercises will remain available until June 2022. So if you need to, if you're working on your master thesis next year, and you're wondering about the theory, then you can come back to this Sowieso page, and then you can still take a look at all the theory and the exercises. But I do recommend following the course in the upcoming 2 weeks as much as possible, because your master year at the VU is going to be it's going to be a lot. I'm a master student myself as well, and you need it's going to be really busy. It might not be too hard, but it will be a lot, no matter what studies you are doing. You are with students from 3 faculties, from the Faculty of Social Sciences, from the Faculty of Movement and Psychology, and the School of Business and Economics from the VU. So a warm welcome to each and every one of you, and I want to applaud your determination to, even during the summertime, so while you could also be enjoying holiday, that you have decided to take some time to do this statistics course. It's a really good, it's a really good sign. And I think that if you will take your master that serious, then all of you will be succeeding in a year from now. So we are using Sowieso. It's a page which has a lot of theory on statistics and endless exercises for you to practice with. And I've personally selected the theory because there's far more statistics theory, but I've chosen all the theory which is necessary for you to kind of refreshen and thereby preparing yourself for your master. So there's a lot more, but I've got a lot of it out. And what I want to show right now is the final part in chapter 5. There's 2 pieces of theory which you don't need to study, but I can't delete them as they're only a subsection, so to say, and I can't alter the pages. So I'll share my. All right, if I'm correct, then you guys can see my screen now. And in chapter 5, in the 3rd and the 4th piece of theory, so the confidence interval for the population proportion, you guys don't have to be here yet, but once you get to chapter 5, let's put it that way. Then at the very bottom, there are exercises to calculate the N. So in other words, to calculate the number of respondents, and you don't need to do this. So the final theory part of chapter 5, and then of chapter 5, from the confidence interval for the population proportion, you don't need to do that. And the same applies to the confidence interval for the population mean. So not just the population proportion, but also the population mean. Then if you select a piece of theory, then then at the very bottom, you can also once again find out theories and a formula to calculate the N, so to calculate the number of respondents. And once again, you don't need to do that. That's not you're not obligated to do so. You may, of course, take a look at it, but I think it's a bit too hard, and you won't be using this in your master thesis. So during your thesis, you'll mostly be using SPSS. And do we also teach SPSS in this prep course? Sadly not. You can always ask me questions on SPSS because I've got my own SPSS YouTube channel, which you guys will probably come across in this prep course. And but we've chosen for statistics because this is like the bare basics for statistics, and you can't do a really hard SPSS analysis, or some of you might use the R software if you're doing marketing, I think. But it's really hard to understand SPSS if you don't understand the theory behind it. So that's why we're offering this small prep course. It takes only 2 weeks, 40 hours, and it's not going into too much detail on SPSS, sadly, because then the course would be way bigger. But you need to understand this, this manual statistics. You need to know what a p-value means, what a t-value means, what significance means, etc. Because if you don't understand the foundation of statistics, then you can't build with SPSS or R blocks onwards. That needs to be a firm foundation. And I'm very glad that all of you joined, because that means that you will have a really nice foundation in 2 weeks from now, or maybe a bit later. Like I said, you are obviously allowed to work on it after these 2 weeks. So for example, if you're going on vacation next week, then that's no problem at all. Then you can just work on it the week afterwards. But just know that the supervision from me is the fastest in these 2 weeks. So this week and next week, I try to answer as soon as possible to your question. So like within an hour. Well, if you ask it afterwards, for example, if you decide to work on it in the Christmas break, then you can still ask me questions and I'll still answer them, but I'll just take a little bit more time, which I think is quite logical. So therefore, I do recommend taking the course these 2 weeks. But if you can't really finish it on time, then you can work on it afterwards. That's not a problem at all. The chapters are not equally long in length. For example, chapter 1 is really long, while chapter 2 is really small. So just take a look at how many hours per day you want to work on this. There's no strict schedule you can use. There are 4 test moments in this prep course, which you can see. I'm still sharing my screen, which you can see at the right over here. You can see test 1, which is about chapter 1 and 2, test 2, which is about chapter 3, 4, and 5, and test number 3 and test number 4. And I always get questions about this. Are these mandatory to make? And does my master coordinator see the results I get? No, it's completely voluntary. And you can make the test as many times as you want. And even if you don't want to make them, you're not obligated to make them. And also your master coordinator will not take a look at them. This is purely for self-assessment. So if you finish chapter 1 and 2, then I recommend taking test 1, and just for yourself to see whether you really got a grip of all the assignments. And the same for if you've then finished chapter 3, 4, and 5, then take test number 2. But you aren't obligated to do so. If you have a severe test anxiety, then there's no reason to do it. You can't complete this prep course. Like, it's not like if you have completed the 4 tests that you will get a nice certificate. No, the tests are merely for self-assessment, so only to help you out. But I do recommend taking them, because taking a look at the theory and thinking, yeah, I understand that, is often quite different from actually doing it. But feel free to take notes during the theory. If you're working on the theory and you're working on the assignments, you're allowed to take notes and get those notes next to you as you're making the test. It's of importance that you understand the statistics, not that you need to learn every formula by heart. So if you're making the 4 tests at a moment which suits you, just take your notes next to it, because it's my job to make sure that you guys understand the theory and are able to do the assignments, but not from the top of your head. You don't need to learn all the statistics out from by heart, because next year, if you're working on your master thesis, you can also just grab the theory. So it's not definitive to learn everything by heart. I'm using, most of you have probably are already in the WhatsApp group, but I am using WhatsApp as a way of communication because I think that it's just the fastest option to communicate in a two-way formation. So you can join our WhatsApp group and just ask if you think that your question is relevant for the entire class. Then you can just post it in the WhatsApp group. Well, if you have a private question, then you can just shoot me a private message on WhatsApp, and I'll answer that as soon as possible. You are not obligated, once again, to join WhatsApp. Just know that if you do join it, I treat these your telephone numbers with the most of privacy. So I do not share them with the VU or whatever. And after the course, I'll delete all the phone numbers. So there won't be any privacy violations. But if you still don't want to join WhatsApp, then that's fine as well. You can use the forum section. So if you look at the screen, you start in the home section. But if you then go to the forum section, then there you can ask your questions, and I'll also answer them as soon as possible. So you're not obligated to use WhatsApp. I just think that it's the easiest way, but there's no obligation to do so. And if you take a look at the agenda, you can see that there will be a webinar today, which I'm currently holding, a webinar on Thursday at 2 o'clock, and another webinar next week, Thursday, also at 2 o'clock. And those webinars will be in a Q&A format. So you ask questions, I answer them. And I'll also discuss the most asked questions up till that point. So if 3 people today or tomorrow text me about the same topic, then I'll discuss that topic in the second webinar. And you can also then ask questions in the chat box, and then I'll answer them live. So if you have any questions on Thursday, then just hold them and ask them in the webinar. It will not be like a presentation, so it won't be like a lecture. It's more of a Q&A based. Format. And you can also see that I chose 4 moments for the tests in which you can make them. Test 1 on Wednesday, and then on Sunday, and then on Wednesday, and on Sunday again. But this is just a possibility. It's how I would do it, because in that way, you've made sure that you've learned all the theory in these 2 weeks, but you're not obligated to make the test on those moments. If you want to take all the tests tomorrow, then you're allowed to do that as well. Or if you don't want to take the test at all, that's also fine. All right, then in terms of contact, if you have any problems whatsoever, you can contact me via WhatsApp, or you can call me, or you can email me. You guys all have my email address, which is bas@prep-campus.nl. And if you have any, if there would be some kind of negative communication between you and me, then there's also my supervisor, who's called Ines Lindner. But she's currently on vacation, so you please don't contact her unless we actually have a problem with each other. But I don't think that's going to happen. So don't contact her only in case of emergencies. Yeah, to put it that way. All right, and then the webinars. I've just explained it, that there will be there will be one on Thursday, and there will be one on next week Thursday. And you can then just ask all the questions you want. But I've just already explained that. Okay, I think that was the most important info about this webinar. Are there currently any questions? So I'll just stop sharing my screen. Are there currently any questions which you feel are relevant for this webinar? Now is the moment to ask. You can use the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. And I'll wait for 30 seconds. You don't get credits for this course. No, good question. No, this is purely for yourself. Is there a link to the, yeah, okay. I'll answer the first question is asked by Crystal. And she asked, you don't get credits for this course, right? Which is true. You don't get ECTs, so official study points for taking this course. This is purely for yourself to prepare yourself in the best way possible for your master. And therefore, you also don't need to need to complete the tests because there are no ECTs combined to it. Okay, is there a link to join a WhatsApp group? Yes, there is. In the introduction chapter on Sowieso, you can see the sub part which is called WhatsApp, and over there you can find a link to the group chat, and I'll welcome you, and then you will have my number as well. Where can we find your videos about SPSS? Oh yeah, about videos in general. Yeah, thank you for asking, Zachary. I'll share my. Oh, someone, Fleur has posted the WhatsApp link in the chat now, so that's really nice. I'll share my screen once again with you guys. Yes, thank you, Fleur. That's really helpful. I've made sure that there are a lot of YouTube videos on the more difficult topics. I think maybe even on every theory, but especially on the theory where it's getting a bit more difficult. For example, chapter 6 is quite hard. And then at the top of every piece of theory, you can see for more information on this topic, check out a certain video. And some of those videos are from me, and some of those videos are from other statistical teachers out there on YouTube. But I've made sure that there's YouTube video always to watch. And I think that in this way, this is really the perfect opportunity to just work on statistics in a relaxed way, because that you will understand it. There's no way that you're not gonna that you won't understand it, because first of all, there's a lot of theory on Sowieso, and then there are endless assignments you can make. You can just refresh the examples and the assignments page, and then you will get new exercises. And there are also YouTube videos which explain it. And if you still don't get it, then you can obviously ask me. I'm the supervisor, I'm your tutor, so you can also ask me. Some of the videos are by me, and which is my, I've got my own YouTube channel, which is called BasPSS, and it's this one. And I've got currently 33 SPSS tutorials, from the very basics on how to do your options up until ANOVAs, regression models, reliability tests. I've got all kinds of statistics in here, and I'll put the link of, well, sorry, what is playing now? Okay, shut up. Sorry for me interrupting me. And I'll put the link to this channel. I'll paste it in the Zoom meeting right now. I'll stop sharing screen. I'll post it in the group chat over here. Okay, and I'll also put the link on. On the Sowieso page, so you guys can also follow it there. Which explains a lot on SPSS. I'm still not finished. I'm still making new videos. So by the time that you guys will be working on your master thesis, all the SPSS theory will be on there. Probably about 50 videos. It's a lot, but I think that I explained it quite well. So yeah, you can use the YouTube channel BasPSS in order to learn SPSS. But first, we're going to start with manual statistics. Are there currently any more questions? Where can we, Brigitte asked, where can we get the SPSS software? Perfect question. Good thing that you asked. I'll share my screen once again. And maybe I will just keep sharing my screen, because if you go to surfspot.nl, over there you can find all the software, and you can find all the software you need. So if you need Microsoft Word, if you need Excel, PowerPoint, or if you need R, or in this case, SPSS, if you just search for SPSS, then you can find all the versions of SPSS. For example, SPSS If you want the campus license, then you just have to pay €7.50. Sometimes SPSS is only €3, €4, €5 on here. So always use SurfSpot if you want to download. SPSS. Don't pay the full price. I think the official price for SPSS is €300. Don't do that. Just go to surfspot.nl and buy yourself a license. So you can then download the trial version of SPSS. And then if you've bought a license number from SurfSpot, you can insert that into the trial version, and then you get the official version of SPSS. If you have questions about that, then you can contact me and I'll be happy to explain it to you. I am your statistics teacher, but you can also ask me other kinds of things. If you want to know more about the city of Amsterdam, then you can ask me. I've been living there for 6 years now. I live in Amsterdam Zuid. I've got my own place with 2 roommates there. Or if you have questions about the VU, I've been a VU student for 7 years now. I'm taking my time to finish everything. So if you have questions about the VU, then you can also ask me or about the student council or about ICT. If you have any questions, you can also you can ask me basically anything, and I'll try to respond as fast as possible. Okay, thank you lots. Let's see if I've skipped any questions. Which version do we need is the best? There of SPSS, that's what Charlotte asked. Good question, and there is no really, there's no real best one. I think that currently, SPSS number 25 is perfect. I myself am using 25, so feel free to download number 25. But of course, number 26 or 27 or 28 are fine as well. Don't go to a shady website and buy version 2, because that's 10 years old and then it doesn't work anymore. But anything around 25, also 24, 23 is possible as well. There are just minor differences between those two. I recommend for buying the version 25, but you're not really obligated to do so. Okay. Will we be going through any basic mathematics? I haven't done any mathematics in a long time. Is there anything else you can recommend to touch up on that? Yes, there is this course. Yeah, it does some basic mathematics, which belongs to statistics, but we also have a separate mathematics course. Good thing you asked. I don't have the link to that right now, but I'll look it up. And I'll post that on Sowieso, and I'll post it also in the WhatsApp group. So if you want to refreshen your mathematical skills, like you're refreshing your statistics skills, then we also have a prep course on that. But there will, of course, be mathematics in this course, because statistics is mathematics. Okay, that was Fleur. Then Otavia asks, how is it going with the COVID situation? Out of context, I'm sorry. Well, no, it's not out of context. COVID is a very serious business at the moment. And I have to be honest and say that I don't know what it will be like in a month from now. Like in a month from now, it's the start of September. So the new study year starts. And I have to admit that I don't know. I think there will be a minimum amount of real hours at the VU, so that you have to go to the VU 1 day a week. I know that universities across the Netherlands are aiming at 1 lecture a week for students, so they can still go to the VU for 1 day, meet each other up, get some social interaction as well. But the rest will probably, at the start, still be homeschooling, so online lectures, online webinars. But it also depends on what COVID does and on how many students get vaccinated. There might be tests at the VU to test yourself. I'm not 100% sure, but your master coordinator will explain everything about this further on this month. I don't know if your master coordinator has already contacted you, but he or she definitely will, and then they'll explain all the consequences of this horrible disease. How long, and then the next question is by Aspasia. How long will we have access to SPSS when we buy it? Well, if you buy it on SurfSpot, so only the license, you've got it for 1 year. It's $750 in this case for a full year, which I think is not. It's cheaper than a book. Let's put it that way. It's not ridiculously cheap. Maybe older versions will be even cheaper. Just have a look around SurfSpot. If you go to the next page, you'll probably see even more. Yeah, serial number for renewal of IBM SPSS Statistics 25 is just €2.75. So if you buy a license code, then you will have it for 1 year. Okay, are there any further questions? Do all VU master programs use SPSS? Since I just heard you say that the marketing program uses R. Yeah, it differs per master study whether you're using SPSS or R. And I thought that marketing uses R as well, but I'm not 100% sure. It changes every year. I've heard this 2 years ago, so it might already have changed by now. But almost all studies at the VU use SPSS, and a select few of them use R. But I can't say which study is which. I don't know all the masters out of my head. I'm sorry for that. Hopefully this answers it a bit, but don't buy SPSS or R until your study tells you to. I mean, they won't, there's no need to already buy R and that you won't use it if you're doing marketing. Just wait until you get until the VU tells you to actually download these programs. But most of you will be using SPSS if you do a quantitative master thesis. If you decide to do a qualitative, then you won't need to use SPSS. Okay, are there any more questions? And also I'm gonna round off for today. So this will also be the format for webinar 2 and webinar 3. Just you guys asking questions in the chat and that I answer them on camera. And I don't think that there are currently, I'll wait for 30 seconds, but I don't think that there will be any more. No, okay, no more questions. Okay, so then I'm gonna stop sharing my screen first of all. And then I wish you guys the very best of luck. I recommend just start working on it this afternoon. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And otherwise, I'm gonna see you guys back here on Thursday. Okay, see you guys. Ciao, ciao.